I'll show you the walking. You see what I'm doing right now? Look, looks like I'm walking, doesn't it? You see that? That's how, when I'm sitting, I'm already thinking of walking. So I'm not just doing this. That's the back problem. Okay? You sit like this, that's the back problem. You sit like that, that's the back problem. You sit like this, that's the back. But you see, I'm already engaged. I call this active exercise. Active sitting. See?
How often do you do that? You
Well,
don't
sitting,
do it.
I do it 24/7 whenever I'm sitting.
Even if you're using the computer, you're
sure.
moving like this?
Look. If you see in the background, there's little movements going on. Think of a fish in the water. In order to stay in the current, it has to move something. It has to flip its flippers or its, little fins in order to stay in the water, balance. So even when I'm sitting, rather than collapsing, which is why most people have backwards. See, I just did it. Watch. From here to here. That posture right now, if I stay there for days and months and many hours, I will have back problems and hip problems.
All right.
But if I'm moving, if I'm already engaged and I'm efficient, look, my posture is up, no problem. In fact, I'm getting exercise because I'm going against gravity. This activity is going, look, up the body. So I'm getting this constant wave like the fish in the water, right? It's just moving its fins. It can do that for months.
What about the exercise ball? Don't you have to constantly try to maintain?
Exercise ball makes you move. So
it makes you move.
Yeah. Or a sitting disc, which I recommend for anybody today on a chair. You need one of these balance discs. You blow them up with air, or you sit on them, and they'll keep you up. And they'll actually create movement. You will feel the upright lift. Yep.
All right. I have a question. Ever since I've been reading about you, explain the correlation, or the lack of correlation, between arthrosis and pain, and explain what arthrosis is too.
You're getting into medical stuff.
All right, just this one.
We don't use the word arthrosis too much. We just call everything arthritis. But in Europe and other places, arthrosis simply means the joint is being shrunk. There's a stress on the joint, and there is a loss of fluid. So what you're getting is a beginning of that a reduction of fluid movement in the joint. If you continue that and then you wear things out, you get into what's called an arthritic syndrome. You don't want to go there. Okay. But we call all of those arthritis, and that's become a general term. But actually, if you recognize that you don't want to keep putting stress on a joint, because that's gradually taking all the fluid away, and eventually the joint will become arthritic. So now you got sort of a bone-on-bone type of thing. In fact, I have technically diagnosed as an arthritic knee. But it grew a new sheath. But they call my knee an arthritic knee. But it doesn't bother me because I've learned to use it properly. So even those are not problems. So.
This is just fascinating. You mentioned something called athletic walking. Is that the kind of walking we should be doing?
Yeah, there are various kinds, there are various names for the walking. I think I should demonstrate them. That would be
let's
good, right?
do it.
Okay.
Let's have a nice
demonstration.
demonstration.
You see what I'm talking about. So
okay.
Most people say, I know how to walk, but actually they don't. Walking is learned. In other words, you learn it by living with the tribe, with the, the people who you walk with. And so most people today don't walk because we haven't cultivated it. So most people just kind of move their legs or the hips, and the rest of the body is carried like a weight. Well, that's not really good walking because you're getting compression. So you want what I call a spiralic walk, and this is the most universal and the best walking form that we have to offer on planet Earth. Okay? In other words, the best walking form you'll see with the Africans, the Indians, who carry things on their heads, right? And you will see, how do they look elegant, they look beautiful, but how come? They didn't take a big course in walking, they just grew up with it, right? But this is what it looks like. So if I show you sideways, for example, that when I walk, I want to catch a spiral motion, see? So when I press my left leg, watch, it goes back and then forward. I'm going to stay right on the left leg to show you the simple movement. There it is. I am using this leg to thrust. I'm getting what's called thrusting forces, and they guide me both ways. Now look, without any effort, I am being held up, and the next thing is I'll just go forward. I'm demonstrating this to show you how you can do this exercise anywhere, any place, anytime. In fact, it fits even in the bathroom of an airplane. You could go in and practice your 500 movements of walking. I'll demonstrate it this way. Left leg, watch. Hip goes back and then thrust forward. So this is carrying me. If you look at the shirt, you see the stripes moving? This is called spiralic. This is different than this. This is how most people walk today. And this is spiralic walking. So now, if I'm really balanced and vertical, I could put something on my head and it won't fall. Another demonstration, we use this in our courses, and anyone can use this once you learn it. You see, I'm going to show you how the tissue moves. So this band is going to represent just what's happening. You can actually almost see it. Imagine the band is representing my tissue, okay? Muscle and connective tissue. Watch when I do this. See all that spiral activity? Well, that's going up, and if I had a real long band and I could go inside the core, that would be going up all along my spine. And this is a wonderful practice. You could just sit here and do this, and you will get stronger and you will train yourself to walk. So that is the essential motion of walking. There's a lot more to it, but we can demonstrate it in, I'll show you the other side from the side. It's very good too. I'll show you the action here. Watch. When I step, here's my first part of the walk and then the second. So walking is in two parts, two phases, sort of like a pitcher throwing the ball. Look, has to bring the arm back to throw the ball. Watch. Walking is like that, except the arm is not above the head. You're not pitching. The arm is here. So here's the movement of walking. Here's the movement of swimming. Here's the movement of throwing a baseball. You see how they're all related? They all come from the same family, the same basic structure. So I can take this elastic and I can keep it close in, and I can train my body not only to get stronger, but I'm going to stay vertical. And the more I do this, the better I'm developing the muscles, then developing the pattern in my brain.
Okay.
Once I get it,
What about
go
carrying?
off for the walk.
What about carrying weights when you walk, or having weights on your
Horrible.
ankles?
That's an awful way, because you're interrupting the flow. In other words, what you want in walking is continuous movement without adding jerky movements. Or if you used weights properly, very light, you could get away with it, but what's the point? I mean, it really has no value, because if I put weights in my hand, I can get more exercise in 2 minutes than I can get by walking in 2 hours. So why interrupt the nice flow of walking by putting weights on yourself?
Makes sense.
Unless
yeah.
you're a racehorse and somebody's betting on you, and then they put weights on you so to give you a handicap, they call it.
Oh, that's what
So
handicap
don't
means.
handicap
Okay.
yourself by putting weights, because it's doing you no good. Absolutely no. In fact, it's putting more stress on the joints. If you were, as I said, if you had very light weights, but I found of no value, and I've tried it, I really find of no value to have weights. In fact, it's most of the time detrimental. The body tightens.